Tonight, more tariff whiplash. It is only day 2 and already a temporary reprieve for the auto sector.
The president is open to hearing about additional exemptions. He always has open dialogue.
Canadian lawmakers trying to keep up, Canadian businesses trying to plan. A step towards reconciliation, breaking ground on a new care home after decades of mercury exposure.
I have numbness in my fingers and my feet.
And dredging the bottom of the ocean at the bottom of the world in the aid of climate science.
It's like a Christmas day for me with a good set of example.
A good bit of mud.
Yes.
Susan Ormison gets the goods on research in Antarctica.
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Thanks for joining us. Within 24 hours of launching his trade war, U.S. President Donald Trump says he's granting an exemption to the tariffs on Canada and Mexico for major auto manufacturers, a hole in the tariff wall that you can drive tens of thousands of vehicles right through. It's just a temporary 30-day reprieve, and details are still unclear, but automakers are breathing a sigh of relief. Canadian officials, not so much. Ottawa and the provinces are so far holding firm on their retaliatory measures. As Katie Simpson shows us, if U.S. trading partners are waiting for a clear message out of Washington, they aren't getting it yet.
North American automakers facing devastating tariffs, getting what appears to be a temporary reprieve.
We spoke with the big 3 auto dealers. We are going to give a 1-month exemption on any autos coming through USMCA.
Details have yet to be put in writing, but the White House says all automakers compliant with USMCA or CUSMA will qualify for the exemption. While the White House press secretary says there could be carve-outs for other industries.
The president is open to hearing about additional exemptions. He always has open dialogue.
Hours later, the vice president said no, that's not what the president is looking to do.
He wants the tariffs to apply broadly. He doesn't want to have 500 different industries getting 500 different carve-outs. And the way to avoid application of the tariffs is to have your factory and have your facility in the United States of America.
It has been a chaotic stretch of mixed messaging from the Trump administration. Insistence tariffs are related to border security.
We need to see the Canadians and Mexicans put long-lasting protections in to protect America. Not this, oh, I'm doing a lot of work for the last 3 weeks. Give me a break.
At the same time, the White House suggesting the real motive is to pressure industries, including the auto sector.
He told them that they should get on it, start investing, start moving, shift production here to the United States of America, where they will pay no tariff. That's the ultimate goal.
All of the uncertainty adding to the deep tensions in the Canada-U.S. relationship.
I think Mr. Trudeau, it would be really useful if he just toned stuff down.
The president's advisors complaining about the prime minister's attacks on tariffs and Donald Trump.
He's calling the president dumb. He's calling him Donald instead of respectfully the president.
While the White House says Trump endorses the annexation of Canada.
He feels strongly that it would be very beneficial for the Canadian people to be the 51st state of the United States. They wouldn't be paying for these tariffs. They'd have much lower taxes if they were part of our great country.
All of that mixed messaging, it offers a window of insight into what Canadian officials have been dealing with while they're trying to end this crisis.
And Katie, you're learning a bit more about what's happening behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, so the Trump team told Canada it would drop some tariffs if Canada killed its retaliation. A senior Canadian government source tells me the Prime Minister said no, Canada would only drop its retaliation if the U.S. dropped all of its tariffs. The U.S. then proposed dropping tariffs on all goods that are covered or compliant within the existing trade deal, CUSMA as we call it in Canada, or USMCA in the United States. In response to that, the source tells me Canada offered to delay the second round of retaliatory tariffs, the much bigger package. But the only way, I'm told, Canadian retaliation ends fully is when all of the U.S. tariffs come off.
All right, Katie Simpson in Washington. Let's dig deeper into the Canadian side of things. As Kate McKenna shows us, the public stance from both Ottawa and several premiers remains one of resolve.
Day 2 of the trade war, and Canadian officials remain defiant.
It is a betrayal of a deep and abiding friendship.
Even if the tariffs are withdrawn, we will never go back to where we were 3 months ago. We will never trust the Americans in the same way.
We will be there to stand strong, and it's not true that we will go through this psychodrama every 30 days.
But behind the scenes, a big diplomatic push.
Conversations are continuing. The Prime Minister and the President spoke today. I also spoke with the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, a bit earlier at noon today, and the Minister of Finance, Dominique Leblanc, and the Secretary of Commerce in the U.S., Howard Lutnick, spoke together.
For the first time in weeks, the Prime Minister got Donald Trump on the phone. Justin Trudeau's office says they discussed trade and fentanyl. But after the call, Trump took to social media, slinging an accusation at Trudeau now in his final days as Prime Minister, writing he is trying to use this issue to stay in power. Good luck, Justin.
There's one person that's causing this problem, and that's President Trump.
Ontario's premier appeared again on an American television network. His province is home to most Canadian auto workers. He says the 30-day tariff reprieve on auto parts changes nothing.
I spoke to the president this morning. I spoke to the prime minister earlier. We're on the same page, 0 tariffs, and we are not going to budge.
Trump has realized in fewer than 24 hours how integrated our two economies are. And I expect more and more announcements about exemptions.
Canadian officials have described the situation as fluid, unpredictable, and chaotic. And while there's a possibility for more exemptions or carve-outs, nothing is guaranteed. Canada's #1 priority is and always has been to completely get rid of these tariffs.
2 more provinces announced countermeasures today. We're talking about Alberta and Saskatchewan, and they've been, I guess, less than enthusiastic in the past about retaliation.
Yeah, both are joining other provinces taking American liquor off their shelves, and both are prioritizing Canadian companies for government contracts. But Alberta Premier Danielle Smith made herself clear again today, any move by Ottawa to slap export taxes on Alberta energy will not get her support.
All right, Kate McKenna in Ottawa. It's not just politicians lobbying the U.S. president. In fact, today's automotive exemption was driven by automakers. But as Nisha Patel shows us, this minor victory still comes with a mountain of frustration.
30 more days for this Ontario parts manufacturer to nail down a plan to survive tariffs.
We remain optimistic, and we have to work to continue doing our job.
It's also 30 more days of uncertainty about what will come next.
To replace the U.S. market quickly is a task that most companies can't do. We depend on the U.S. market.
Auto manufacturers that are compliant with CUSMA, the North American Free Trade Deal, will get a 1-month exemption from tariffs. For auto workers, there's little relief.
I've never been through something so frustrating. We could get into a recession, not based on the economy, but based on decisions being made. And this just cannot happen.
While the move buys companies some time, they'll still have to reckon with reciprocal tariffs that Donald Trump says are coming April 2nd.
To make a deal to forestall a punch in the face for a month, well, punch me, and then we'll figure it out.
The big 3 automakers, Ford, Stellantis, and GM, pushed hard for this exemption. By some estimates, a 25% tariff on Canadian and Mexican imports to the U.S. could boost the cost of making cars in North America between $4,000 to $9,000. So they applauded this move, the industry group writing in a statement, "We look forward to working with President Trump and his administration on our shared goals of increasing U.S. automotive production." Returning manufacturing and jobs to the U.S. does seem to be Trump's end game.
We're going to have growth in the auto industry like nobody's ever seen. Plants are opening up all over the place. Deals are being made.
Still, the auto industry works on very different timelines.
Nobody's going to be moving a plant in 1 month, so we need to be clear about that.
As the U.S. lurches from one policy decision to another, the cost for businesses is starting to add up. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
The American makers of Jack Daniels are calling the decision to pull their product from Canadian shelves worse than a tariff. Provinces began removing American alcohol yesterday as part of their plan to respond to Trump's tariffs. Now, Jack Daniel's parent company is calling that move disproportionate. However, it also says Canada only makes up 1% of its overall sales, and it can withstand the hit. Well, tariff concerns are also growing in U.S. border cities. People there count on Canadian trade and tourism to fuel their economies. Lisa Shing is in Buffalo, New York tonight, hearing from Americans bracing for impact.
Canning has started for the day at Resurgence Brewery. That packaging comes from Canada. So does the grain used to make the beer inside.
It's going to hurt. So, our lowest profit margins are on packaged beer.
The company president put a freeze on procurement for the next 2 weeks while uncertainty plays out over Donald Trump's tariffs on all Canadian imports. Jeff Ware is also afraid of fewer customers.
The border traffic is a huge driver for us.
Buffalo, like many border cities, has a special eye on this tariff war. Its economy relies heavily on Canadian traffic.
It'll be a massive hit to us.
Tourism group Visit Buffalo Niagara says about 40% of the visitors to the region are from north of the border, essential after decades of decline in its manufacturing sector. But now signs that more Canadians may be spending their dollars at home.
We're hearing anecdotally from some of our hotels, some of our attractions as well, that they are starting to see a decrease.
Concerning to some residents.
It seemed like it would be better if they had just left it alone.
It's going to make things a lot harder.
But it isn't just the local economy that will take a hit. People living in communities on either side of a border, like Buffalo here and Fort Erie, Ontario there, develop emotional relationships that can be wounded when there's political tension.
It's friends that are connected, it's events that are connected, it's our communities that are connected.
Well understood at this Mexican restaurant whose owner has Canadian regulars.
And they say, hey, every time we come over, we specifically come to you. I hope that they can see beyond that and still continue to come over.
Like so many here, he hopes the tensions are short-lived and things will return to normal. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Buffalo, New York.
The U.S. Supreme Court has ordered the Trump administration to unfreeze nearly $2 billion in foreign aid. That cash was withheld after Trump ordered a 90-day pause on all foreign aid on his first day back in office. Today's ruling was a split decision that was supported by 2 Republican-appointed justices. It was delivered without explanation. There's more fallout from that chaotic White House interaction between Presidents Trump and Zelensky as the U.S. pauses intelligence sharing with Ukraine. Chris Brown looks at the reasons, the impacts, and the possible solution.
When Russian drones smash into Ukraine cities, as they did overnight in Odessa, U.S. satellites and surveillance can often provide enough heads up to sound the alarm and gain life-saving time to prepare. But as part of coercing Ukraine's government into cutting a Donald Trump-led deal with Vladimir Putin, crucial intelligence sharing is now suspended.
We have taken a step back and are pausing and reviewing all aspects of this relationship.
Trump's team had already paused the transfer of weapons, all of it hobbling Ukraine's ability to defend itself from Russia's constant onslaught. In his nightly address, President Vladimir Zelensky said there had been positive movement in discussions with the Americans.
It's time to end the senseless war.
But so far, Trump's efforts to end the war in Ukraine have been one-sided. He hasn't made any public demands of Vladimir Putin.
You don't have the cards right now.
That ugly blow-up at the White House was in part triggered by Zelensky's insistence on U.S. security guarantees, which Trump refused, and there's no indication either side has budged. Britain's Keir Starmer told Parliament he's been trying to patch things up and to find a formula that satisfies both sides.
The way to ensure we have peace is to ensure there are guarantees for any deal that is in place.
Verifiable. And in a primetime address, France's Emmanuel Macron said he will bring top European military chiefs together to discuss a made-in-Europe plan for ending the war in Ukraine. The fear that Donald Trump will abandon Ukraine and leave Vladimir Putin in a position to threaten the continent has galvanized European nations like no other geopolitical event recently. And in another massive shift, Germany's government says it's preparing to change its spending rules and borrow massively to increase defense. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
Back in this country, ground was broken today for a North American first, a specialized care facility for people with mercury poisoning. The Grassy Narrows First Nation fought for decades to get this built in the wake of an industrial pollution catastrophe that is still making people sick. Cam McIntosh traveled there to show us why this care is long overdue.
So this is the English River out the back here? Yeah.
Robert Williamson grew up on this water.
Back here, this is where you can do most of your fishing.
Yeah, this is where my parents and my grandparents did all their fishing.
It's part of them. Sadly, so is the mercury that pollutes it.
I suffer from tremors.
He's one of thousands in Grassy Narrows First Nation with similar symptoms over decades.
I always try to have fish in my house.
Linked to fish most people here rely on.
And there's no explanation other than mercury poisoning. My vision is deteriorating, and I have numbness in my fingers and my feet.
Grassy Narrows is downstream from Dryden. In the 60s and 70s, this paper mill dumped tons of mercury into the river system. All these years later, the mercury is still here, still poisoning the waters. For decades, successive federal governments refused to acknowledge there's a problem. That now has changed. Ottawa contributing more than $140 million for a one-of-a-kind mercury treatment center.
It's very sad that it actually took this long for our people to finally get what we need, for the government to finally understand and help the community.
It is a unique situation, but I think the community and the government has proven that we can do these things together.
The Mercury Care Center will offer both inpatient and outpatient services, specializing in neurological care tailored to the community.
There is no facility in North America that is designed and created to be able to support mercury sufferers.
For Williamson, the care center shows the community's efforts are not in vain.
What does it mean to have it right on the water?
Yeah, that was the whole idea of putting it there.
One day he expects he may be an inpatient.
I would never be able to leave this place.
Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Grassy Narrows First Nation.
Canada is taking steps to declare forever chemicals toxic, substances found widely in clothes, cosmetics, and so much more.
It's like spraying Scotchgard on your kid.
But will the move lead to a ban? And searching for clues about climate change at the extreme end of the Earth.
It's like a Christmas day for me with a good sediment sample. A good bit of mud. Yes.
We're in the Antarctic to see the research firsthand. And the U.S.-Canada battle in the wild.
It was like boxers in a ring.
We're back in 2.
I looked out of my window and you could see a gray cloud with orange on it. I thought it was an early sunrise. This was 4:45 in the morning.
Investigators are looking into a 3-alarm fire in Toronto's Yorkville area that destroyed 6 townhomes under construction. Other nearby buildings were damaged, but no injuries have been reported. The street includes century-old houses converted into businesses. Well, Ottawa is moving to crack down on what are known as forever chemicals. These are substances in everything from clothes to cosmetics that threaten the environment and your health. Mike Crawley now on the government's plan and why some say this isn't enough.
Miriam Diamond's research has shown just how widespread forever chemicals are, from food packaging to cosmetics to school uniforms.
It's like spraying Scotchgard on your kid.
Forever chemicals got their nickname because they linger in the environment for so long. In places where they've leached into the water supply, higher rates of cancer and infertility have been found.
It goes even in our blood and through the placenta to our kids, and probably with an effect on the next generation and the generation after that.
They're more formally called PFAS, short for per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances. Canada is now declaring the bulk of them to be toxic, paving the way for restrictions.
It's an unprecedented approach since we're regulating the entire class of PFAS and not just one substance, one molecule at a time.
But the move doesn't actually ban the use of any of these chemicals, merely opens the door to a ban eventually.
The measures that are being proposed are simply not sufficient. The government could be enacting restrictions right away on those products.
There's a long road ahead to get these substances out of products and out of our economy. So this is just really a first step.
I certainly share the views that by some that we should try and go faster, and we are trying to go as fast as we can.
The first substance the government will consider restricting, firefighting foam containing PFAS.
Other places in the world are moving away from it, and are moving away from it quickly. Alternatives are available.
Several U.S. states are far ahead of Canada in restricting forever chemicals. California and New York have moved the furthest, banning PFAS in clothing since the beginning of the year. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
Small businesses across Canada are making some difficult decisions as they grapple with 25% tariffs.
What we've decided to do just to get the order out is cover the 25%.
Why this jewelry maker says it is not sustainable.
That's a quick, landslide to financial ruin.
So what can small businesses do? I'll put that question to one of the dragons.
I think they have to become the 51st state.
Donald Trump's threat has angered most Canadians, but apparently not all.
If I were to pay less taxes, I know that I would be able to make more money.
But who are they? The National breaks down stories shaping our world. Next.
This is where we're at. We can't even tow.
So a fast-moving storm has brought clearly significant snowfall to parts of the U.S. Midwest. In Iowa, stranded vehicles lined highways, a similar scene to the north in St. Paul, Minnesota. In that state, the National Guard was called in to help provide shelter for people who could not make it home. In Antarctica, Canadian scientists are collecting ocean samples, hoping to unlock clues about our changing planet. International climate correspondent Susan Ormiston hopped aboard to see this rare expedition firsthand.
Every day, suit up,
Give me a little further.
load up.
Well, I've got 5 bottles, 5 glaciers.
The scientists are headed out to the glaciers, lowered in a Navy boat turned research craft, to measure what's changing in the ocean at the bottom of the world. We're going with them. Antarctica helps regulate the global climate, but sea ice is melting to near record lows. February had abnormally warm temperatures, which over time affects everything in the ocean ecology.
We've seen a ton of penguins today. Hopefully we see some penguin DNA in there, some whale DNA.
Jenny Tolman is capturing DNA in water samples, but her expertise is the smallest of organisms.
Microbes are the little engines of the ocean. They're also the things that respond the most quickly to change, and the poles are a very rapidly changing place.
But collecting samples can be tricky work. Tia Anderlini is studying trace metals, reaching out to scoop up seawater.
I was using a really long pole, basically to avoid contamination from the boat itself.
Woohoo! And at sea, things just happen.
Ooh, I dropped it.
A plastic lid slipped into the ocean.
Can you look over and see if there's a cap floating under the boat?
But within minutes,
retrieved.
It's been recovered. Glaciers are retreating in the Antarctic Peninsula more rapidly than before.
The depth is 51 meters.
One way to measure what's going on is grabbing sediment from the sea floor. Jeremy Bentley lets down a large claw to the depths and then hand over hand hauls it back up to deliver a muddy mass. There are clues here, and with deeper cores, about glacial history.
We're looking at changes over time,
including human imprint, like any evidence of microplastics.
It's like a Christmas day for me with a good sediment sample.
A good bit of mud.
Yes.
Most of the samples will go back to Canada to analyze and share. There's more ambition than time. It's so rare to get here. The challenge is worth it.
It's a great day for samples from glaciers from here.
You got everybody?
Here.
Day's end, it's back to the mothership with a bit of Antarctic scientific treasure to advance our understanding of what's happening to our climate. Susan Ormiston, CBC News in Admiralty Bay, Antarctica.
Time now to dig deeper into the story shaping our world and a pushback against presidential provocation.
So I think Canada is going to be a very serious contender to be our 51st state.
Contentious comments from Donald Trump spark an almost unified response from Canadians.
That will never happen.
But there are a few who might consider it. We'll find out why. But first,
I'm absolutely terrified. I really don't know what to do.
Fear and uncertainty for businesses trying to navigate an international trade war and mitigate its impact. When Donald Trump first threatened tariffs, one Toronto jewelry maker told us it would be the final blow for her family business. Now those tariffs are a reality. CBC's Nick Purdon went back to that business to find out how they're coping.
The tariff implementation is really, really, really terrifying. It's like, okay, well, how much more can we sustain?
Meet Anita Agrawal. She's the CEO of Jewels Forever, a Toronto-based jewelry manufacturer. More than 60% of her business is exporting to the United States. So with 25% tariffs, what can she do?
Like today, we're supposed to ship out $10,000 order. We haven't finished the order to the US. And what we've decided to do just to get the order out is cover the 25%. When we send it out by FedEx, you have the option of billing the duties to the sender or the receiver. Obviously, my receiver is not going to pay that. So I'm going to be paying that up front.
If you pay the 25% tariff, will you be making any money?
No. No, I mean, as a manufacturer, I operate on very, very, very slim profit margins. That's a quick, landslide to financial ruin. That's not sustainable.
So it takes a long time to figure out your niche.
I first met Anita a month ago when the tariffs were just a threat. She was on her way to the States to make one last big sale.
I exported as much as I could to the US, paid the customs and duties, and now this is my last time. And I actually advertised for it because I don't know what's next.
A month later, the tariffs are real.
Did she make the invoice? No.
And Anita and her mom, Sheila, are trying to survive.
Yeah. For that order, you want me to just write tariffs to shipper on the FedEx. Okay. That means that we're going to have to eat the 25% tariff, right?
Yeah.
For the shipment. But Mom, how many months do you think that we can actually sustain this? 2 months, 3 months?
I don't know. Maybe the smaller orders we have to cancel. But with our
Imagine that, having to cancel orders. Sheila started her business in the family home 35 years ago.
I am so proud of my mom. She's just such a hard worker. She was raising 2 kids, working multiple minimum wage jobs, plus working on the weekends at a flea market in order to, raise us and give us a good life.
Anita helped her mom even when she was a kid. Now she's in charge and designs most of the jewelry.
I have a sofa bed in my office. I work until 2 a.m. sometimes. So, I mean, this is my world.
And Anita says the 25% tariffs could be the end and put her 10 full-time staff out of work.
It's overwhelming. Ultimately, we might have to close.
What's it like to say that?
I just don't want to accept the reality of it right now. I just want to be able to work day to day and see what happens.
Are you scared?
Oh, I'm terrified. I'm absolutely terrified. I really don't know what to do.
Anita says finding new customers is now the challenge because that's the only way their business can continue.
Yeah. I think that we're going to have to go back to being old school with the way that we do sales. And maybe that means we start selling in Germany again or the UK again.
No, maybe we need to call our Australian and New Zealand customers.
Anita says she's worried the tariffs could affect more than just the economy. She teaches business, and she's concerned about the next generation.
What's at stake here is the loss of the entrepreneurial spirit. Entrepreneurship is basically having a dream, having an idea, and going forth and creating it. And what this means is for young people, especially when I go into the classroom and I have to say to them, look, you're going to be dealing with all of these things, stop dreaming. Like that's not what I want to be doing. So what's at stake here is a lot more than just dollars and cents.
Wes Hall is an entrepreneur, a member of the Council on Canada-U.S. Relations. You may also know him from Dragon's Den. Wes, we know that almost half of the private sector labor force in this country is employed by businesses with under 100 people. What is about to happen to those people, to small businesses in this country?
Well, that's the unfortunate thing about all this, Adrian, is that the backbone of both our economies, the U.S. and Canada, it's about those moms and pops, as we call ourselves, because at one point I started Kingsdale Advisors with just me by myself to build it to where it is today. The backbone are those people who have, 5 or 6 employees, and now they have to make decisions as to what they do with respect to this tariff that was unreasonably put on their businesses and that additional cost to them and their customers.
So what does that look like? Like, what do the next months look like, do you think, for them?
I think it will be difficult. No question. It will be a difficult few months. A lot of people have to make decisions as to whether or not they're going to be able to pass those costs on to their customers. That's what most companies will do, especially the bigger companies. They will not. The big companies will not absorb the cost. Unfortunately, for the smaller companies, the smaller businesses, if they pass the cost on to their customers, they will likely lose customers. Ultimately, the government will have to step in, the Canadian government that is, and provide some form of relief to some of these small businesses so that they can continue to operate.
What does that relief look like? Because I'm imagining a small business that says, as you say, I can't pass, these costs on to my customers. They'll disappear. I'm going to eat this for now. I mean, you can't do that. These margins are really, really tight. They can't do that for very long. So what are some specifics that can help them stay alive, do you think?
Well, to the extent that they can pass the cost on to their customers, they should do that. At some point, as you mentioned, they will have to make a decision as to whether or not they want to eat the cost. And I do strongly believe that at some point in the future, the government will announce a program, just like they did during COVID, to help and to provide some relief on small businesses. And that could be tax incentives that they would be able to provide to those small businesses in the future. So when they file their tax return, they can claim some of these tariff-related expenses. And so I don't believe, and I strongly do not believe, because this council, the Prime Minister's Council, is having conversation with the current Prime Minister. We don't know who the next Prime Minister is going to be. But I can tell you that if it was this current Prime Minister in the seat, the conversations that we're having right now is that there would be some relief coming to small businesses.
We talk a lot in almost theoretical terms about finding new markets, right, to offset the American one. How realistic is that for a small business?
In the long term, they must do that, regardless of what happens. The fact is, we have a president in the United States or an entire administration that's unpredictable. And so to the extent that we can rely on other places to sell our goods, we should start to source those other locations. But right now, we have to start to wean ourselves off the dependency on the United States. So my encouragement to small businesses is start now to look for other markets, other places to sell your products, because we don't know how long this is going to last. And even if the tariff is removed right now, we don't know if it's going to come back on again at some point in the future.
One last thought to you. We only have about 40 seconds left, but you talk with entrepreneurs all the time. For people who are leaning in and listening to you right now, what is your very best advice for them today?
Well, I am an entrepreneur. I own a number of small businesses and larger businesses. And I just look at this as an opportunity to look internally at my businesses and see how we can make things better and more efficient. We learn some of our best lessons in times of adversity. So I would say that we should look internally, and some of those decisions that we wanted to make, but because things were going well, we just didn't do them. Take this opportunity to do those things and make those tough choices.
I hear efficiency, and I think I hear layoffs when you say that.
Unfortunately, it will come at a cost to jobs. We hope that those jobs will be recovered in the future, but temporarily there will be some layoffs, no question.
Yeah, this is rough. All right, Wes Hall, thank you.
Thank you, Adrian.
Next, the Canadians totally unfazed by Donald Trump's comments to make us the 51st state.
To be honest, I wouldn't mind having the American dollar since our loonie is tanking.
We unpack who they are next.
I say Canada should be our 51st state.
A floated idea from Donald Trump provokes the ire of his northern neighbors.
We're nice people. We like to get along, but don't push us around.
But a small group of Canadians seems eager to become American.
I know that I would be able to make more money.
Part of the 10% who polls show might support Canada becoming a state. CBC's Lindsay Duncombe went looking for them to find out why.
So I think Canada is going to be a very serious contender to be our 51st state. I think they have to become the 51st state.
We look forward to the United States beating our soon-to-be 51st state, Canada.
I say Canada should be our 51st state.
The threats pile on, and Canadians are angry.
We're nice people. We like to get along, but don't push us around.
No, proudly Canadian, I'd like to stay that way.
That will never happen.
But a few don't share that rage.
To be honest, I wouldn't mind having the American dollar since our loonie is tanking, but let me know in the comments and give me a follow.
There is a movement in Canada to join us.
A pro-Trump reporter asked about them. Fox News is talking about it.
Well, Trump's idea of making Canada great again by turning it into the 51st state is gaining some serious traction, especially from Canadian citizens.
That's a big stretch. Polls show the overwhelming majority of Canadians in all parts of the country do not want to be part of the United States. Angus Reid Institute says 90% of us would not support joining the U.S. But who are the other 10%? And why do they want to be part of the states?
An online search leads me to Ryan Hemsley.
How did you feel when you heard Donald Trump say Canada should be the 51st state?
I was very excited. I've been dreaming about it since I was a kid. I don't actually believe that it's going to be a 51st state, but I do think it's an idea for a broader union between us.
Hemsley is 33 and just moved to Victoria from Calgary. He sells cars for a living and thinks he would be better off financially if Canada joined the U.S.
I know that just based on my work ethic, how hard I work, if I were to pay less taxes and have more access to trade and business opportunities, I know that I would be able to make more money.
Hemsley likes Trump, and he likes the way unelected billionaire Elon Musk is gutting government services.
Would you want that chaos to come here to Canada?
Well, it has to, because we have to fix it somehow. I'd much rather the chaos come here to quickly and efficiently deal with some of the issues Canada's facing.
Angus Reid Institute found support for joining the U.S. was highest in Alberta and Saskatchewan.
Yeah, there's a consistent group of the most alienated folks in the country that tend to center around these separatist movements and have for a number of generations now.
Take those poll numbers with a grain of salt, says political science professor Jared Wesley.
Most folks that have expressed this in polls to us have not really thought through the implications of it, and when tested on it, usually back away from those types of opinions.
There is overlap between people who support joining the U.S. and the separatist movement in Western Canada. This billboard in Bowden, Alberta, was paid for by a group associated with the Wexit movement. Longtime Alberta separatist leader Peter Downing now supports joining the United States. He says Canada should join the U.S. to guarantee security, especially in the Arctic.
The Americans do not want to pay for global defense anymore. They don't want to be the global policeman anymore. And whether you like that or not, that's not for us. It's not up to us to decide.
No mainstream political leader has come anywhere close to endorsing these views.
We will never be the 51st state.
It's never going to happen.
I see no enthusiasm for that notion.
There's a lot of overlap between these folks.
But what we don't know is what could happen if the economy tanks, says Shachi Curl from the Angus Reid Institute.
Canadians don't want this, but if we are in a situation where crippling tariffs are imposed and there is no relief over the long term, and or Trump ratchets up the pressure even more, it will give Canadians a moment for pause.
For now, Canadians are pretty much united. The 51st state doesn't fly. Tests of that resolve may yet come.
People's reactions around this story are so intense. In Regina over the weekend, the Buffalo Party held a fundraiser where the idea of joining the United States was discussed. Adrian, there were protests and the party had to hire security.
I have no doubt that in the course of reporting this, that you encountered all sorts of emotion, right?
Yeah, you know, when we were interviewing Ryan Hemsley at that beautiful park in Victoria, our cameraman Dylan was off shooting Ryan on the beach, and this friendly, middle-aged man walking his dog in the middle of the day asked what we were talking about. And I told him we were interviewing a guy who wanted to join the U.S., be part of the 51st state. The man looked down at this huge rock at my feet and said, "Is that what that rock is for?" Never have I ever had a friendly dog walker threaten violence on a story before, Adrian.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, thanks for this, Lindsay. It's Lindsay Duncombe in Vancouver. Here's a preview of another story we're working on.
Antarctica is now on the horizon. For many, this will be a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
I'm Susan Ormiston in Antarctica, a place like nowhere else. Countries have tried to lay claim to this territory, but no one owns it. Instead, it's governed by an international treaty. But with geopolitical tensions rising and the effects of climate change, will the Antarctic Treaty survive?
There's geopolitical desire to have influence on this huge part of the planet. That's done not through projection of military power, but through establishing scientific outposts.
The Antarctic Treaty is under considerable stress and strain, probably entering the worst period it's ever experienced.
We'll have that story in coming days on The National.
And coming up, when nature mirrors politics, the Canadian goose and the bald eagle just battle it out.
The eagle kept repeatedly attacking, and the goose was defending itself.
Find out who wins this Royal Rumble. That's next in our moment. It is not often the animal kingdom provides a battle that seems to perfectly reflect the political atmosphere, but you're looking at proof it does happen. About 2 weeks ago, wildlife photographer Mervyn Sequeira was out for a hike, captured the feathery fighters as they were duking it out. The symbolic showdown, that's our moment.
It was like boxers in a ring. It's very symbolic in the political context. People will interpret it like boxers for each of the two countries, but that's for each person to interpret. We saw a bald eagle coming in. From then on, it was a 20-minute fight. The eagle kept repeatedly attacking, and the goose was hissing and pecking as best it could, defending itself. There were pauses. Each of them seemed to have been catching their breath or deciding what the next move would be. There was round one, round two, round three, and so on. And all the rounds had everything in it. Like in boxing, the contestants were getting more and more tired. And there were times when it seemed hopeless for the goose, and the goose was under the eagle. I thought it was over. However, it was very, very impressive. The goose fought back and came out of that and survived the day.
And the eagle flew away, leaving the goose just to hang out and chill out on the ice as you do. If you think you've seen this before, if you're like, well, where is this familiar to me? Yes, we've actually seen an eagle and goose fight before. We've shown it to you on this show. And there too, the goose won. From all of us at The National, thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to The National's YouTube channel. I'm Adrian Arsenault. Take care.